So today I'm going to do bloody Puddles chimps with Etienne and Moab and get some nice cash spare in the process too. This run was inspired by Alk, who did a similar run just a few years ago but used Quincy in a different mid-game and some other things. To start off, I'm using a sub-dart style, specifically the round 21 airburst, link in the description. Desperados probably could be better, but I didn't really feel like learning it, seeing that I already had a macro set up for some of the placements. And round 19 airburst also isn't really necessary because I need an overclock later, so I think it's fine to just get an NG now. After airburst, I go straight for Etienne so I can start getting levels, and this is the last round that I can place him to get global camo before round 42, which is pretty funny. And I also upgrade the sniper to 110 for leads and camos. So at this early, I'm going to be relying on the sniper and Etienne's range to get the sub to shoot darts and then home into the lanes on the right, which is really good because it allows me to skip out on getting any more camo. And then I can just get a discount village and start building the towers I'm going to use, such as a Kylie boomerang, which is actually really good at taking out the left side. The Darling got some pretty interesting changes in this patch, so I want to use a BADS to get this save up done. And it should work pretty well because it can knock back surrounds, which is a slight weakness for Moab. And even though its overall DPS got nerfed, this should really help in the late game, so it should be pretty good. Round 40, I get a buckshot to beat the Moab, and this tower is still doing a lot of damage. The attack speed increase is actually really good for the 40s as well, because realistically, if this thing hits a target, then the target's gonna pop if this is just the 40s. So it's basically just a free attack speed increase, especially when you get out buff. It just wipes out everything slowly, but a bit less slowly than before, you know? I get BADS up quite early on round 49 in fact, and now I just get an Alk buff, drums, or your classic buffs that you give this when you're saving up for BADS, but now I'm doing a save up with Moab. Something you'll see a lot while I'm microing to beat these rounds is actually target independent, because although target independent isn't really good at targeting a balloon when it's about to leak, it's pretty good at targeting multiple lanes at once, meaning I'm using it as a tool to help manage the two really spread out lanes at the same time during the 50s and 60s when balloons are still pretty fast. You still get rainbows, zebras, pinks, and they're pretty fast. They zoom through maps like these. For 63, I need something else to beat the third wave of ceramics, so I'm actually getting a Sabo. Sabo mid-game is really weird and a bit clunky, but it's still pretty good, and 63 isn't the only round that needs it, but for now I can start banking up some money for Moab Dom. Of all rounds, 77 was actually a really big challenge, so big that I needed Moab glue, because I don't have UCAD for this round. This is a really good example of the dialing changes making some rounds harder and other rounds easier, or at least around the same difficulty. 81 took a bit with the distant lanes, but really it was not that hard considering it got a DPS nerf this update. I needed some good timing with UCAV as well as Sabo and some luck, of course, but I got to it pretty quickly and I could purchase Moab Dom on round 82, which unsurprisingly helps a lot. Basically every round in the 90s needed retries, so I prepared distractly because some of them were pretty bad. And also enjoy Snow Red because I love this song, it's so good. 95 was actually quite tough. I just had to be pretty sparing with the abilities because I needed something up for 96. And I also just needed to get a bit lucky because sometimes the ceramic would leave, and Moab doesn't really add the greatest lines for this round, unlike the other rounds. I figured I'd need all abilities back up, and I actually didn't, but Regardless, I overclocked the BADS instead of Moab Dom for this round because A, style points obviously, but also B, it has full uptime on tier 4s, which is really nice, and this was just the first way that I figured out getting all ability cooldowns back. There's definitely other ways that work. 98 was by far the hardest round. It took a few hours in fact, and I was mostly just throwing myself into a roll until I found a strategy that was actually pretty consistent. I want a few extra cross paths to be this round, but at the very least swapping the out cross path would be cheaper, but one of them could probably be cut. For this round, I needed to get really good timing with Vucav because I needed good lines on the left. And I needed good lines on the right because Moab Dom is really far away and it needs outbuff constantly to be able to attack that side, and BADS just doesn't quite keep up with all the ceramics. But eventually I was able to get it, and I also can't use Sabot this round because I needed up to 99, so that made things a lot harder. After that, 99 was pretty simple with Sabot and Overclock at the ready, and around 100 got a bit close, but I could pop the insides just fine, and finish this run with 55,000 cash spare. Well, that's all I had to say today. Goodbye.